Welcome to Life Mastery for Women, where I help you decode the struggles in your life in the areas of health, wealth, relationships, and spirituality with mind mastery, emotional management, and meditation. Welcome to today's podcast. Hey ladies, it's Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. Welcome to today's episode, where I hope I am finding you taking action where it matters most. If you're not taking action in your life to make your life work for you, then it is my intention that in today's episode, I give you just one nugget of inspiration. So I have always been an action taker. I shouldn't say always. In certain areas of my life, I have been an action taker. And there's certain areas of my life where I am overcome with fear and like analysis paralysis, and I don't move. But let me ask you this. If you could take action without having a consequence that would propel your life forward, really making a leap, where would that action be? And almost every single time I ask that question, you have an answer. Quit the job, leave the relationship, get on the treadmill, stop spending money frivolously, whatever. There's always a piece. There's always a something. What stops us from taking action? Well, let's talk about relationships for a second. If you've been listening to my podcast, you know that I've had this part-time job, right? And things are at the end now where I have put in my 2 weeks notice. My 2 weeks is up, and the boss has come to me and said, basically, can you continue? And so I need to think long and hard. And I had a dramatic conversation today that was I can't even explain it to you. It was just this you got caught, this person that I was friends with, this coworker that I thought I was friends with, and I find out there's all this stuff going on behind my back. And so I confront them with it. They lie to my face with it. Then I come around and say, oh, okay, well, let's just go ask this other person. Let's talk about this. Let's kind of get it out in the open and let's discuss this, right? And that person's like, no, I don't want to go do that. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to, because, I'm trying to get to the truth. Anyway, and so it finds out that, yes, throughout the story and with this third person there, that because she was saying that this person was lying. So with the third person there and oh yeah, remember when blah, blah, blah. And then this is what you said behind her back. Anyway, so she was caught in the lie, and then she admitted that, yes, I did say that, but here's my line of excuses as to why I said that. My reason for telling you the story is there's all kinds of things like this, right? There's all kinds of these weird drama as you're trying to have relationships with other people, no matter what degree of depth those relationships are, whether it's just people you work with, it's your boss or your coworkers or whatever, intimate friends, but close friends, your intimate relationships, your spouse, your children, it doesn't matter. So like the interworkings of the relationship, there's always a standard, right? And which probably like you too, I like to be able to trust the person that I'm in the relationship with. I want to trust that when I leave for the day, that person isn't talking crap behind my back, right? It seems so juvenile. I mean, in just a few weeks, I'm going to be 50 years old, and I can't believe that as a 50-year-old, and this other woman, both of them are both 65, that I'm like, why am I having these kind of discussions? But I've always been someone to take action I shouldn't say always, I'm sorry. I am someone now who takes action. And I ask you that question about where in your life would you progress immediately if you were to take action in whatever area. So there's an area in your life you're wanting to improve, because we all are, as we're all seeking expansion and we're all moving, right? And in that area, there's a giant boulder that needs to get pushed out of the way in order for you to have a clear runway, at least to the first level of the desire. And we all have that boulder, and it is up to us to figure out how to move the boulder out of the way so we can have a clear runway. Most of the time, we stand behind the boulder complaining about how the boulder is there, what we're going to do about it, and how it's everyone else's fault, right? I do it too. So the people at work, they know, as most people do, if you know me well enough, that I like to take action in a result of things after I've tried to resolve the thing. So if I'm having an issue with somebody, let's say, and we're having an argument, we can't agree on something, then I am one to say, okay, let's take action. I'm going to take action to put this matter to rest, so to speak. So I'm going to talk to the person, I'm going to try to resolve it. And if I can't resolve it, then I'm going to make a decision about if I want to continue in that relationship or not. Most of the time, we don't hold ourselves to the standards in which we want others to be held at. Meaning, let's say you're in a relationship and it is this unspoken rule, but you guys have announced your relationship and you are going to stay in this relationship and it's going to be monogamous. And maybe it's been spoken, maybe it's not, but either way, you have said, yes, you're my girl, yes, you're my boy, yes, you're whatever, and I'm exclusive to you, we're in this relationship, okay? Somewhere down the line, if something happens that you have created these boundaries within this relationship, maybe spoken, maybe not spoken, and you have created these boundaries, sometimes just in your own head, that now somewhere in the relationship, let's say those boundaries got crossed and something happened and they crossed those boundaries and emotions now surface. Like, hey, wait, you cheated on me. And I thought we weren't going to do that, Well, now here's what happens. There's lots of talking, maybe there's yelling, there's arguing, there's everyone trying to get everyone to see everyone's perspective. The reason I cheated on you is because, you aren't intimate with me anymore, or we argue too much, or because you're a bitch most of the time, whatever the reason is. It's just excusing our behavior. But either way, when those boundaries get crossed and now we're in this place where you stand back from the relationship and go, that was a boundary that crossed. What do I do? I have to communicate that. I have to communicate my feelings. I have to communicate that that's not okay with me. And then you have to communicate something that's a little bit deeper. What happens if they do it again? What happens if those boundaries gets crossed again, especially if it has to do with a trust issue? They cheated on you, they hid something from you, they did whatever that now you're questioning your level of trust to them. I believe in action. Meaning, I'm going to communicate, I'm going to do whatever, and then from there, I'm going to explicitly explain what my action steps are going to be if it happens again. Sometimes it comes out as a threat. Hey, if I find out that you cheat on me again, I'm leaving this relationship and I'm taking my kids with me. Okay, I'm taking our kids with me and I'm getting the house, whatever. But do you follow through on that action? So many times, and I did this a long time ago, so many times we don't communicate those boundaries. We get mad when they get crossed because we just think it's this unspoken rule that these are the boundaries in this relationship because we said this, this, and this. Those boundaries get crossed, trust gets broken, and now it happens, and now I don't know what to do. This person who's got the boundaries crossed, I don't know what to do. So when we take action, or when we have this fear, if you're in this place of indecision, that is also a decision. Can you live with this thing that happened? Can you forgive this thing that happened? And then you need to put your trust in that person that if it does happen again, you are going to hold your end of the bargain. And that's the hardest thing for us to do, because we want that person to love us enough, respect us enough, feel that what they did was wrong, that they won't do it again. And then when it happens again, if it happens again, and in my circumstance, we're talking about relationships, it did happen again. It happened several more times. And I found myself just constantly talking, saying the same thing every time it happened. What that does is it diminishes the respect for you. And it's kind of a rock and a hard place, isn't it? It diminishes the respect that that person has for you, because it's like a child with a parent. When they're throwing a fit out in the grocery store and you say, I'm not getting you the candy bar, and they say, please, mom, and they throw their fit and they cry and scream and yell and you hate me, and they're, making a big embarrassing move in the store, and then you throw the candy bar at them and you said, the next time you're not getting one. And then the kid goes to the grocery store the next time with you and they throw the same fit and you said, the next time you're not getting one. The kid doesn't learn to respect his boundaries. That when you say no, don't cross these boundaries. These are the things that I'm establishing in this relationship, and I'm expecting that you have boundaries. But we both do. Both people in the relationship both have boundaries. And as both people have boundaries, they need to be clearly explained. Like, hey, okay, we're monogamous, meaning you're not sleeping around, I'm not sleeping around, we're going to be together. We're like making this choice to be together, right? And in that choice, we're creating the boundaries. So if the relationship starts to go south, you then say, hey, okay, listen, I'm not sure I want to be in this relationship. Things need to change or I'm leaving. And I don't want to cheat on you because I said I wasn't going to, but things aren't changing. Like we need to work on our relationship, right? So, but when it comes to you taking action, it's kind of a rock and a hard place because if I stay, they may not respect me. And if I go, then I lose out on this person and I continuing this relationship. What happens to you if you stay? What happens to your own self-respect? Because when I was in that relationship so long ago, and I continued to allow her to cheat on me over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and I continued to talk and make all these threats that I never followed through on, she lost respect for me, and I also lost respect for myself. I lost myself in the process by not taking action. So now speed forward many years, I'm a very confident woman. I clearly define my boundaries. I clearly explain my boundaries. And at this job, now none of these are intimate relationships, but they're coworker relationships. And I thought they were friends. And lo and behold, they kind of aren't because they just don't have that same level of respect or that same standard, if you will, that I hold my friends to or I hold myself to. Like I would not do the things that this lady was doing. And in that, I chose to take action instead of continuing to say and have the same conversations. So is there a place in your life right now where you are doing the same thing? Where you are in a situation that you keep talking about, whether you're talking about it with the people directly or you're talking about it with your spouse behind their back, like saying like, oh, my coworkers, blah, 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 my boss, yankety yank, I really should quit. I really want to quit. And then you're just not doing it. What would happen if you did? When we talk about the hose and life force energy moving through us and us leveling up our lives, we have to cut the anchors on some of the strings so the balloon can soar. And I had to do that. And I had to learn that the hard way. And I bet if you're still listening to this podcast, you are also learning this the hard way too. There are numerous people, clients, potential clients of mine who are in really abusive relationships, whether emotionally abusive, whether physically abusive, and they're staying in those relationships after they've had numerous conversations about the behavior. Now, when it comes to us taking action, of course, there's lots of fear. There's lots of fear around making decisions, quitting a job. Now, all of a sudden you don't have that income. Well, what am I going to do? Woe is me. What's going to happen? Well, when you start raising your vibration and you're letting go of those stressors, the things that you can't resolve, you've tried to resolve and you just can't, and it's creating stress in your life, follow that path another 10 or 20 years. What is your life going to be like? And are you going to have regrets? And if either, what's your life going to be like is more like shit, and what's your life going to be like, or your stress level, or your health, and if all of those are sounding negative, then it is time to take action. And it is in that action that we gain our confidence, we gain our clarity, and we begin to feel life force energy moving through us again. Because it took me a long time to come around to making a decision about quitting this space, except we keep having the same conversations. And I don't really want to go there and work alone. It's not always feasible. We sometimes have to work, some of these cabins together, right? And the conversations are great until they're not. And I just don't want to keep bringing that home. So I look at my life down the road and say, where am I going to be 2 or 3 years down the road dealing with this? Have I done everything I could possibly do or think of in every tool that I possibly own to try to resolve this. Have I been able to resolve any of this? My answer is a big fat no. I do not have a willing participant on the other side. She is not willing in any way to see a different perspective. Then if I say, okay, how is this going to impact, or how has it impacted my health? Positively or negatively? And the answer is negative. So my action is I have tried to resolve it. Do I want to keep trying to resolve it? The answer is no. I have tried. It's not working. Nothing I'm doing is working. She's not a willing participant. I'm out. And now there's this sense, there's a little bit of fear, but not much. I mean, there's a little bit of a grieving process that I'll go through because I just absolutely love it over there. And I love the environment. But the camaraderie is not there. The community is not there. The trust is not there. The friendships are not there. So that's what makes it the hardest, right? So what about you? When you look at that area of your life that you're trying to push forward and you see this boulder in front of you, if you were to take action, how would that clear the path? And what are the underlying obstacles in your way? So if you had a job and you said, oh, I got to replace this income. Let's say I make $70,000 a year and I have to replace this income. If I quit this job, will I feel better? Yes, absolutely. Because my boss is a beep and my coworkers suck and I have so much stress and I'm taking it out on my kids and my family. My health is declining. Okay, so if I leave, that's the big boulder, right? Then what are some of the other obstacles that are probably right behind that boulder that maybe are a little bit smaller? Like, well, I need to replace this income. Now brainstorm. Because what we're doing is we're starting to look at what possibly could be blocking us from moving the boulder. What is possibly blocking us from looking at this thing and going, if I get this out of the way, what are the other things behind there that are going to be hindering me? And what can I do right now to start planning that? What can I do right now to start putting those things into place that allows me to move a little bit more into a space of confidence? Because I'll tell you this, if you had a crappy job right now that causes nothing but stress, and you met somebody in a cafe that says, oh, you're a blank, whatever your job title is. Oh, well, I'm starting a brand new company. It's my 4th company, because this is just another one in this area. And I'm paying 80 grand. If you want a new job, I would love to hire you. Now, is it easy to make the decision? Same with a relationship. You're in a marriage that maybe isn't trusting. They've crossed boundaries. You guys can't see eye to eye. You have tried to resolve it. It's been years. The relationship is very wearing and very stressful. And then you meet somebody who maybe is nice to you, maybe is somewhat promising, offers you something different in a relationship than that is missing in your current relationship. Now, of course, I'm not saying that, you gotta excuse the dogs in the background. I'm not saying that, okay, go ahead and start cheating on anybody. But what that does is it allows the door to open where you're like, oh, there are other fish in the sea, like my mama always told me. So that allows you a chance to build a little confidence. Most of the clients that come and work with me are lacking in a couple different areas. One is self-confidence. Self-esteem. Somebody is controlling their life in some way, wrapping their emotions around them in some way, and they're having a hard time trying to separate themselves from their partners or some other person in their life. Another is self-love. Now, those two things can feed off of each other. If I have self-confidence, I love myself a lot more because I have self-respect, which is the third part. And if I have those 3 things in place, I am pretty much unstoppable. And I mean that in a way that is positive. Not always positive. Not everybody uses those things in a positive light, but I try to. And so with my self-confidence creates this space of I take care of myself. I don't let myself get locked into emotional spaces that are going to hinder me from making decisions. Do I get emotional? You bet. I'm a woman. We all do. It's all part of life. But I try to maintain a level of logic and a level of, I want to say like reflection that it was not an easy decision on this particular job to say, okay, I need to let this job go. I still kept trying to work it out. I still kept trying to resolve the issue so I could stay, at least through the end of the summer. And I just couldn't do it. So I tried all these different avenues, right? And there was still some fear there. But what I was doing is now trying to figure out, how do I remove those blocks on the other side? And when it comes to you, if you build that self-confidence on the other side, you're clearly defining your boundaries, and then you're clearly sticking to those boundaries and respecting those boundaries. So if you're going to say, hey, listen, if you're going to cheat on me again, I'm leaving, then please hold yourself to that truth. If they do it again, please go pack your bags. Is that a hard decision? Yes, absolutely. But I will tell you what, that was the hardest decision I ever made, is leaving that really unhealthy, absolutely no trust in the relationship. None. Could not trust her ever in any way. But leaving that relationship was the best decision I ever made, because it led me to where I am now in this most trusting, highly supportive, very loving, intimate relationship. And now let's take it if we're something that was not a relationship type issue. Is if it was something else that had to do with like your health. Look at yourself where you are, look at that boulder and say, if I don't move this boulder out in front of me, away from me, chip it away, climb over it, push it out of the way, whatever you got to do. If I don't move it, what is my life going to be like in 12 months? Better? Worse? Or the same? And if it's the same and you want it to be better, or it's worse and you want it to be better, then do everything you can to figure out how to move that boulder by also setting up the space on the other side. So here's another example. Amy and I, over the last several years, 7-8 years, we basically stopped working out. When that was kind of our thing of working together. I was a personal trainer. I ran a boot camp. She was in my boot camp. I fell in love with her. We started this relationship. And the kids were here and they were little, 3, and I think Brandon was 7. And it was quite holy moly chaos for quite a while. And so exercise, we were at the height of our physical capacity. We were at the height of our physical level. And we're like, oh yeah, we're fine, right? We're fine to take some time off. Well, cripe, you guys. I mean, we still were like sort of somewhat active, but our regular workouts pretty much ceased. We still went to the beach. We still swam. We still ran around. We still went on hikes. We rode our bikes. We did stuff like that, but our regular workouts stopped. And now we're both dealing with the repercussions of that, not continuing that strength training. And we're both dealing with different injuries as a result. And so now we're standing back and going, what's the boulder that's in my way? I got to start working out again, period. I got to get back to 4 or 5 days a week, an hour in my gym, and start working out and strengthening my body again. And if I don't move this boulder, is my life going to be better, worse, or the same? And my thought is it's going to be worse. My physical health is going to start declining, and I'm still wanting to be, I still have the mental and the emotional energy and physical energy to some degree. I still have that energy to still want to be running around playing baseball, chasing my dogs around, going on hikes, going kayaking, doing all these things. But my physical body is not up to where my mental body is, where my thoughts are. And so that boulder in my way is making time for it. I have to cut out time. So what I did before I did the podcast today is I have a gym in my basement. And what I did was clean the basement. I completely, because it looks like every corner of my house looks like there's a small dog there because my dogs are shedding like crazy. So I vacuumed everything. I cleaned the floor. I shook the rugs. I cleaned everything. And then I rearranged stuff. Like I took things down, like my project table came down. There wasn't much of a project on it. And I moved some stuff around. So now it's easy to come in here and work out. Because it was time that was my big boulder. And where? In the middle of the kitchen? Where am I going to work out, right? And so it was time. And then the little boulders after that were, where am I going to go? Where can I do my exercise? I mean, my gym looks like a big project room. And then of course we're donating a bunch of things and projects and stuff. So, items from the house. So we have boxes filled with stuff. So our basement looks like probably everyone else's basement across the country. And so I'm like, okay, wait, all right, let's get rid of some of these things. Let's start moving and organizing, move this stuff on. Now I've cleaned my gym and it looks like a gym again. So I've set up the boulders that are behind that boulder. So the boulder that's in the front, now I need to put it in my schedule. And guess what? Now, if you have been listening to me, you know that I'm also a part of this other business coaching program. And we're going through all these lessons and all this pre-recorded audio and video recordings. So I decided, now how do I make my time to go do this? Well, I quit this job, so that's not a hindrance. So there's one part of the boulder is out. Well, the other, what I thought about is I'm going to start watching the videos while I'm on the treadmill or while I'm working out or while I'm riding my spin bike. And I'm going to take in that information and then extend my lessons out about an hour, extend my workout to an hour while I'm listening to these recordings. And then when the hour is up, I will go clean up, take a shower, do whatever I need to do, eat a little something, drink some water, whatever. And then I will do the work that is my coursework. And I'm like, it's brilliant. So now what have I done? I've eliminated any fear around doing these exercises. Now, believe it or not, it's like, well, wait a minute, Jen, you want to get in shape. You want your body to get stronger. You already have a gym. You already know what to do. How did you have fear? It's the other fear of giving up time to doing other things. If I don't push my business along, then I'm missing out. I've quit this job. I need to replace this income. Right? There was a little bit of this pressure. So there's a little bit of fear that I'm going to go and work out, but I'm not working on my business if I'm working out. I'm just working on my health. Well, maybe my health can wait. No. Listen very carefully to these next words that I say to you. Your health can no longer wait. Your health is the part of you. It is the shell that holds your spirit. And if that shell is rotting from the inside in any way, whether it's stuck energy, it's emotional, it's stress, it's physical, it is not housing your spirit in the way that it should. This is your house. You only get one. Let's take care of it. And when you are taking care of your health, you are building self-love, confidence, and self-respect. And when you have those three things working together, you, my friend, become unstoppable. And now, I want to invite you to my Lady Rising group. I know I've said it, you keep hearing it on my calls, and maybe you need to hear it 25 more times, and I will keep saying it. My job on this planet is to build communities of women who come together with like-minded other women in support. And the groups that I'm providing is what is helping to build this confidence, helping to build and teaching you things about self-love and self-care, helping you to manage ways to get through the boulder, ways to, if you've heard this analogy, fill your bucket or unkink the hose so life force energy can start moving through your body. There is nothing more important than your health. So if you have something in your life that is causing stress, that is in the way of at least your next level of success, it's the next 5 pounds, it's the next bit of love, it's the next stint of your income, releasing the stress, things are going to start shifting. This is how we start cutting the anchor from our balloon. Go to Facebook, go to Lady Rising, type in Lady Rising, say you're coming in through the podcast, and then be a part of that group. Participate, ask questions, get to know the women that are in that group. Build those relationships because there's a ton of support in there. And there's women that have dealt with health issues. There's women in there that are dealing with relationship issues. There's women in there that were dealing with being on medication for anxiety and depression that are no longer on those medications. Not because I said anything, but because they don't need them anymore. Isn't that something? So if that's you, if you are struggling with any of these things that we talked about, where that boulder that's standing in front of you and you want some support to get rid of that, I'm here for you. Facebook, Lady Rising, come in and say you came in through the podcast and let us help you. Be a part of this community. If you liked this episode and you look forward to future episodes and are really looking for a community to help support you with implementing the tools that we're talking about in this podcast, please consider joining our online sister community called Lady Rising on Facebook, where we focus on that spiritual support and connection, just like in today's episode. I hope you'll join us. Go to Facebook, type in Lady Rising, and tell me you came in through the podcast.